Okay.
We try.
Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Ruth Buzzi. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Hey. Oh, wrong button there. Happy Monday, everybody. You're watching Creator Spotlight, powered by the Dorkening Podcast Network. We have a kick-ass show for you tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. But as always, my name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here, normally hitting the wrong buttons. And as always, Philip from Dark Discussions. How's it going, bud? Oh, you're muted, Phil.
I am muted. All right. Hey, Leo, it's good to see you, and glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. Speaking of glad, RW, how's it going, bud?
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest, the Prince of Puns, the Duke of Dirty, the Master of Mirth, the Governor of Gags, the Wizard of Whoopee, the Unknown Comic.
Hi, I'm not here right now, but if you leave your name and number at the sound of the tone, I'll get back to you. I'm busy at the Dorkening. Hey, guys. Man, what kind of opening was that? That opening was longer than my ex-wife's. I got to tell you, that was crazy.
Oh, my God. This is going to be awesome.
I don't know. It was good. That's Gene Simmons on Viagra. Pretty crazy. It's some weird shit, huh? Hey, oh fuck! I said shit. Oh
That's
shit!
Okay.
I said
It's an
fuck.
adult-rated show, and oh my God, we got a wicked special guest. Your brother's actually here. I'm gonna get up here and bring him in. Hold on 1 second.
All right, let's check him out.
Oh my God, how you been? You never
was
call
that?
me.
Is that my brother Scumbag or Dirtbag? Oh, it's Douchebag. He's all wet. I can see it.
I'm telling you, I'm a little drunk right now. I'm a little half in the bag.
Oh yeah. Oh. Well, I've been around like over 40 years. In fact, just last week I got a facelift. Check it out.
Oh my God. So
yeah. Hey, this is what the Unknown Comic would look like if I was Jay Leno. See the long jump. Never mind. All right. So much for that shit. You think this is easy, huh? Okay. Anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to say hi with the bag.
Ladies and gentlemen, there he is, Murray Langston, the man underneath the bag.
Ain't that true? Everybody talks about George Clooney, but seriously, you take away his looks, you take away his talent, you take away his money, and what do you got? Me, Murray Langston. That's right.
So I grew up in the 70s, and I watched the Gong Show for one reason, and that was to see you. And on the shows that you weren't on, I'm like, oh my God, what a ripoff. The Unknown Comic wasn't on this. I want my money back.
You're
so
saying
I
that now?
watched that show waiting for you. You
Wow,
made me
thank you.
laugh so hard through my entire growing up in the 70s and 80s. And I just obviously want to thank you for that. Like, oh my God. And then when you're on Make Me Laugh, I'm like, oh my God, Murray, like the Unknown Comic, holy smoke.
So you're the reason I was always under pressure. It was you trying to entertain you. So it was your fault. Son of a gun. I'm glad that's over anyway. Oh yeah, the Gong shows were a fabulous time of my life. They came out of nowhere. I was an actor before that, mostly a comedy actor. I was on you remember the Sonny and Cher show? You remember that? Oh yeah, you guys know all this stuff. Yeah, I did so many series as a comedy actor back then with Sonny and Cher, with Bobby Vinton, Wolfman Jack, Lola Falana, the Hudson brothers. Yeah. What is that you're showing me?
The Hudson, Sonny and Cher.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
and the Hudson brothers.
And the Hudson brothers. Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up with you and your comedy, and I
was wondering who was making all that noise in the back room. So it was you. Okay.
I follow you on Facebook. We're friends on both your Murray Langston and your Murray Langston too. And I was the guy that sent you that baby picture of you that time.
Well, you were. Well, thank you, because that's it's part of my my repertoire now on Facebook. I mean, people seem to love that. Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
I'm so honored that you made me laugh all those years, and I made that baby photo for you, and you used it as your profile picture for like the last 15 or 20 years. And that, like, when I can give back to somebody like you who's given so much to me, then that's awesome. But I'm sure people have a lot of questions for you. I follow your posts every day, and every day you make everybody laugh. So thank you for that. Like, all your little funny things. I watched the Gong Show movie a couple weeks back, and the Eskimo peeing, just, oh my God, I thought I was going to wet myself. That's probably one of the funniest bits ever.
Oh my gosh, that's another oldie but a goodie, man. The old Eskimo peeing joke. Yeah, I haven't done that in 100 years. I don't think I've ever. I've maybe done it a few times, but I've been retired for so long. I'm just coming out of retirement now to do a few gigs just to see if I can still do it. Because I tell you, it's not easy being a comedian. People, you try to entertain people and they just laugh at you. It's very frustrating.
Now, how do you, like, your normal voice is this? Where'd you come up with the Unknown Comics voice?
I think it was just the energy of the character when I first did it. I only meant to do one. I didn't know I was going to do 150 down the road. And, I still remember the first one I did. I said, "Hey, Chucky, you and your wife ever make love in the shower?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, you should. She loves it." and what happened is Chuck loved that joke, and he came backstage running after the show, said, "Hey, you got to come back and do another thing on me." So he was very smart in that he decided that me being on the show insulting him gave him a certain amount of vulnerability, because he was always making fun of all of the acts on the show. So, that was very clever of him to do that and have me come on a regular basis and insult him and make fun of him.
Oh, wow. Because that was going to be my question, is how did that come to be, because you said you went on. Now, what's this? I've seen a couple different versions of the story of why you started with the bag, but what's the true story behind that?
I had a really bad complexion, and it was cheaper than Clearasil. That's the truth. Okay. That is not the truth. Okay. Well, it could have been, but it wasn't. No, the truth is, as I mentioned to you, the Gong Show had already been on the air 6 months by the time I went on it. After the Sonny and Cher show and the Bobby Vinton show, all these shows that I did, I made a fair amount of money for those days. And I bought a nightclub restaurant called Showbiz, and invested all my money in it. And I sort of specialized in bankruptcy and became very successful, and sort of lost my butt about 2 years later. Interesting club, though, because guys like David Letterman started at my place. Michael Keaton was actually discovered at my place when he was doing stand-up as Michael Douglas. That was his original name. Deborah Winger was one of my waitresses. Gallagher started at my place. So many people actually started at that little club I had for a couple of years. It was an alternative to the Comedy Store back in those days. And anyway, the club folded. I was broke. I had no money. I was starting all over again. And because I've been on all these TV shows, I heard that the Gong Show was paying Screen Actors Guild Union, or AFTRA at the time, which was like a couple $100. And I just wanted to make the couple $100 because they had to pay you whether you won or lost. And so, so that was my goal, and is to make a few $100. And I knew the talent coordinator of the show. Her name was Ruth Goldberg, because I'd done several dating games, which was the same, production company. So I called her up and I said, "I want to get on the show, but I don't want anybody to see me," because I was already on all these other TV shows. And I was a little embarrassed that people would, "Oh, that's the guy from the Sonny and Cher show. What's wrong with him?" On his idiot Gong Show. So anyway, bottom line is, she said, "Well, Chuck does these curtain calls where people come out and do something ridiculous, and he closes the curtain on them. He says, why don't you do that?" So that's how I did the first one. But again, I only meant to do one. And I, for the couple $100, and I ended up doing 150. So you figure 150 times 200, that's over $400 right there. If I'm not mistaken. High school graduate. 14 years I went to high school. I'm no dummy. So that's the answer to that question. It was just because, show business is a roller coaster ride, ups and downs, and it's always been that way. But fortunately for me, it's all been good. But even the downs have been good as well as the ups. Doesn't mean I do drugs, no downs, no uppers. But the ups and downs were always good for me.
So I read that you were at the Comedy Store the day it opened.
I was there the day it opened. That's absolutely true. That's when three guys, Rudy DeLuca, Sammy Shore, and Tony, Rudy DeLuca, Sammy Shore, and who was the other guy that owned it? Well, they all got together and they opened this club. It was three of them. And then there was three acts there. Barry Levinson was one act. He was part of a trio. Barry Levinson and what was the other two guys' names? Oh, yeah, well, Rudy DeLuca and I can't remember the other guy. Oh, he was from the TV series Coach. Who am I talking about? Coach. Not Jerry Van Dyke, but...
Oh, yeah. What the... Oh, gee.
See, you guys, I'm older and you can't remember it either.
Yeah, from Poltergeist, right?
Yeah.
Oh, was it him? I thought it was Bill. Oh,
no,
yeah.
come
Craig
on,
T. Nelson,
from the
right?
series
Craig T.
Coach.
Nelson.
It was Craig T.
Nelson.
Nelson.
Yeah, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
So Craig T.
I can see his
Nelson
face.
and Barry Levinson and Rudy DeLuca, they were a trio and they appeared a bunch of shows. So they performed that night. Comic named Jackie Gale performed that night. And Sammy Shore was hogging the stage quite a bit. But overall, yes, I was there the night it opened, and it was a very interesting night. Nobody knew it was going to go more than a couple of weeks, but it went a long time, and pretty much thanks to Johnny Carson, I think. Not to Mitzi, as a lot of people thought it was. When Sammy turned over the store to Mitzi, because he didn't think it was going to go anywhere anyway, the timing was just right, because that was when the Tonight Show decided it was going to move from New York to L.A. And when they moved from New York to L.A., all of the comics of that day, the David Brenners, the Jimmy Walkers, the Steve Landesberg, they all needed a place to work out. So they all showed up at the Comedy Store. And that's why the Comedy Store became a huge success shortly thereafter. Had the Tonight Show never moved to L.A., the Comedy Store would have probably not lasted much longer than a few months. That's my guess. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have plenty. I just want to make sure RW.
Well, I want to make sure Philip, if he has something, because I'll ask question after question. Because, like I say, you just made me laugh so hard growing up, and that's why I wanted to get you on the show. But I know other people have questions too, so I don't want to hog the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but before I move on,
make you laugh till you peed.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. My sister. I could make my sister laugh at Will. Yeah, Will was my brother. He hated that, but we don't need to go there. Anyway, so what's the other question?
So you got your start. You started off with Rowan Martin's Laughing, correct?
Yeah, actually, I was a computer operator during that period. I got out of the military, and the Fork.
Yes, thank you for serving, by the way.
I was in the Canadian Army and the United States Navy on a carrier for 3.5 years. Yeah. But how did you know I was a waiter? Yes, I served most of the officers. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, I was in the military. 4 years in the Girl Scouts. Broke a nail twice. No, that's not true either. Okay, so when I got out of the military, I wanted to be in show business, but I didn't know what to do. So I managed to land a job at Universal Studios in the computer department. But we're going back to ancient history. That's when they had collators and sorters and cards and all that shit. So I was a young guy, 21 years old, and that was my job. I got this job. I was at Universal, but I was working in the basement of a commissary. But I'd walk around the studio on my break and see, John Wayne or Elvis Presley, all the different people shooting movies in those days. It was quite exciting for me. And what happened, as I said, I didn't know how to get into show business. I got to get into show business. I don't know how to do it. I just got out of the military. How do you do this thing? Then Tiny Tim made it big. You remember Tiny Tim? All of a sudden, he was a phenomenon. And I'm in the computer room going, God, if he can make it singing this stupid song, there must be a way I can get into show business too. So what I did, being totally naive, is I called up NBC and I asked if I could speak to the producer of Laugh-In. I didn't know you're supposed to go through agents. Somehow the producer, George Slaughter, gets on the phone and says, yeah, may I help you? And I said, oh, hi, are you the producer? He said, yeah. I said, I'd like to get on that Laugh-In. And he said, okay, what do you do? And for some reason, I was working on these weird impressions. And I said, well, I'm working on this impression of a fork. And I would do that to the guys at the computer room. He says, a fork. Okay, well, why don't you come down tomorrow morning at 10 and meet the writers? So, I mean, it was that easy.
Oh, wow.
So next morning I show up at the studio, and they had a bunch of writers, including two very popular writers at the time were Chris Beard and Alan Bly, who became subsequently big producers. So they asked me, so I'm this skinny kid, 20 years old or 21 years old. And I get up and I do this stupid impression, and nobody laughed. They said, okay, thank you. And we'll let you know. And so I go back to the computer room. I don't hear for a week or two, and I figure, well, that was a waste of time. But so anyway, all of a sudden, maybe a week and a half later, I get a phone call. I didn't even have a phone then, so I had to call the where I worked at Universal Studios, and they said, we're going to shoot you tomorrow at 1:00. Can you report to makeup at noon? So I'm going, what the heck? All of a sudden, I'm going to be another Tiny Tim, right? I figured I had it made. So this is how I actually start. So I go down to the studio on the day of taping, and I do the makeup, and I'm seeing Goldie Hawn and Ruth Buzzi and all the different people there. And Rhoda Martin introduced me. They had their whole routine written out, and he says, he said, I found a new discovery today. And he said, oh, really, what does he do? Well, he's an impressionist. He does an impression of a fork. And the other guy, and Rowan or Martin says, well, where'd you find him? He said, what do you mean where I found him? I was having dinner. He was next to my plate, And he said, and next week he's going to come on and do a knife and stab himself with himself. They did all these jokes. So anyway, I came out and did the fork. And they did a couple other jokes for me so I was on the first show 3 times. I did a tube of toothpaste, that kind of thing, and I think it was the grandfather clock, something like. So anyway, but the fork was the main thing, and so the day it taped was a couple of weeks later, and I didn't even have a TV either. I had no phone or TV. I had to go to a friend's house to watch it, I watched this, and they introduced me, and I think this is it for me. And I go to my computer job, and my bosses say, what are you doing on TV? We want to train you to be a programmer. And they fired me. So I got fired, seriously. And because I said, well, I want to be in show business. I'm doing my job. Anyway, the bottom line is I was fired and from my computer job, and no other offers. I'm walking around the street going like this, hoping people will recognize me. Nobody's recognizing me. So it did absolutely nothing for me. And I took an ad in the paper, in the Variety. I remember you've heard of Mac the Knife, watch Murray the Fork on Laugh-In, but it did absolutely nothing. And I didn't get another job for a couple of years later, while I was doing these other odd jobs. I think I was painting houses, something like that. Yeah. But anyway, so that's how my first job I got. It was easy to get, but it did lead to something years later, though, because it led to the Sonny and Cher show. Not positive, I'm pretty sure, because years later, I formed a comedy team, and we were working at this little place called Canopo's with Cheech and Chong, by the way. We were all working for a hamburger a night, and then we'd head over to Red Fox's club. Subsequently, me and my partner got hired to be Red Fox's opening act for a hamburger. We got no money or anything like that. But so we were his act for a long time, and Red sort of became my mentor. But an agent was there and saw me and Freeman, who's my black partner, doing these really disgusting, because opening for Red Fox, we had nothing but real filthy stuff, but it was very funny stuff. And asked if we want to audition for the Sonny and Cher show. She said, I have a contact there. So anyway, next thing you know, me and Freeman are down at CBS, and we're auditioning in front of these producers, Chris Beard and Alan Bly. And all we knew was this really dirty sketch. Again, we're doing these dirty sketches, and they're not laughing at all at us. And so they, same as laughing, they said, well, thank you for coming in. We got to look at other people. We'll let you know. So we leave, and we figured for sure we didn't get the show. 3 or 4 days later, Schwab's drugstore, where I'm hanging out, still didn't have a phone. And we had to call the Schwab's drugstore because we hung out there all the time. And it was from the Sonny and Cher show saying we got the show. So course, screaming and yelling, because I was working selling shoes at that time at J.C. Penney's. And it was during the miniskirt craze, so it was not a bad job at that time. So anyway, next thing you know, we're on the Sonny and Cher show. And so, the one thing I forgot is while we were auditioning, after we finished our audition, the producer said, "You look familiar. Weren't you the guy who did the fork on Laughing a couple of years ago?" And I said, "Yeah." So I don't know if that connection led to the Sonny and Cher show, but those two guys were the writers that saw me doing the fork or auditioning at Laughing with the fork, and they same two guys that saw me a couple years later auditioning for the Sonny and Cher show became the producers.
What was the place you said you worked with Cheech and Chong? Because we're actually talking to Tommy Chong tomorrow.
There's a little place called yeah, Cheech and Chong will tell you that, because we would work to 2 or 3 people because we had our different comedy teams. I mean, they did their couple of dogs running around sniffing each other's butts and a lot of really funny stuff. But we worked for just food at that place. Nobody was getting paid money. And it's funny because last time actually Cheech called me, it's probably about a year and a half ago, out of the blue from a golf course with Bob Einstein, him and Bob Einstein. So it was right before Bob died. They called me. But yeah, so Cheech and Chong started at this little club called Canopos, which was right next to a strip club on Sunset Boulevard. And then subsequently, like I said, that place closed, and then we all ended up going over to Red Fox's nightclub. But then it was very shortly after that Cheech and Chong started breaking. They broke real fast with their first album with that guy who produced them. Anyway, yeah, so and it's interesting because Cheech his dad was a cop, and Tommy Chong was also Canadian, like I'm from Canada originally. So that was all interesting, those early days. And interestingly enough, and I put it in my book too, it was like years later when I was riding high and I got a great little Rolls Royce, but I got out a deal. It was a friend of mine had one. So I'm driving his Rolls Royce. I'm like 28 years old, driving his cool roll, and I pull up at a stop and I look over and there's Tommy Chong in a Rolls Royce. Both of us working for a hamburger night, and there we are next to each other at a stoplight, both driving Rolls Royces. Pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how did your incredible friendship with Ruth Buzzi start?
It probably started shortly after that, but yeah, we became very close. Ruth is, godmother to both my girls. So we're very, very close. Been together, her and her husband, Kent, now 50 years we've been friends. We've did movies together. We've did everything together. Sadly, she's under the weather now, a little bit of that, well, not good anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw Kent in Night Patrol with you.
Yeah. Kent was in a couple movies I did. Up Your Alley, he was in that one too, I think. And
I saw something where you posted that and you said you own the rights to that, and it's nowhere right now because I tried to find it because I wanted to watch it before we had you on the show, and I can't find it anywhere. So is there any plan to get that out there at some point?
Somebody just left me a message saying he knows somebody that got a movie off onto the various outlets, cable outlets. So yeah, I'm going to check on it. Yeah, because I own it, completely. It's my movie. I produced it and financed it and everything. And it's a cute movie with Ruth Buzzi plays a bag lady, and Linda Blair, of course, was another one of my close friends since she was about 13 years old. She played a really good part in it, and who else is it? Yakov Smirnoff, of course. He turned out to be weird, the Russian comic. And who else? Yeah, a bunch of people. I think Billy Barty. No, Billy Barty was in Wishful Thinking. But
now,
anyway.
How is it you've known Linda Blair for so long, since she was that young?
It was fascinating. She came in. I told you I owned this little nightclub, right?
Yep.
When she was probably 14, when the movie was huge. The Exorcist had just been out, was huge. She shows up at my club because I had a restaurant, so you could be and food, so you could go in there with Lenny Bruce's daughter, Kitty Bruce, who at that time was dating. Okay, my mind is going blank. Chico and the Man.
Oh, Freddie Prinze.
Freddie Prinze. So she was, Kitty was dating Freddie Prinze at that time. And so anyway, me and Linda and Kitty all hit it off. I ended up sort of, going. In fact, Linda, it's the only time I've ever been to the Academy Awards after she broke up with who we talking about?
Freddie Prinze.
Freddie Prinze. I started going over there a little bit, and I ended up going to the Academy Awards when Lenny was up for the movie with Dustin Hoffman, the movie.
Oh, wow.
So I went as Kitty's date. So it's my only time going to the Academy Awards, which was really cool at that time, obviously. Yeah.
Wow.
And Linda and Linda's lived with me. A lot of people think we've had a relationship, which we never have. We've just been like brother sister for years. I mean, forever. And I talked a few months ago, but so we still connect with each other as Ruth Buzzi. They're my long time friends.
Wow. Justin says Ruth was the first person to get 4 out of 5 questions right on a daily show back in the day.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I was the first person to get all questions wrong, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
But you don't like to brag.
No. Well, yeah, I do. And I was bragging. I have to admit that I was.
So you mentioned, working at Universal Studios, going on set, seeing like John Wayne, and then your illustrious career. What is somebody that you've met or worked with that you look back now and say, "Holy crap! I had a chance to, to work with that person or to know that person."
Linda Lovelace. That's the one first one I can think of. I don't know if you remember her.
Yeah, we know who she is. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Okay, I had no.
No, we do know who she is.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah. She's
everybody knows who she is. I mean, it's
a lot of people don't know that I for years I was a stuntman in porno films. I don't know if that word ever got out, but anyway.
We'll be sure to spread that for you.
Oh yeah. You might have seen the one I did was called King Kong Plays Ping Pong with His Ding Dong in Hong Kong. Anybody see that? No. Okay.
Couple times.
I also did America's first patriotic porno film, Yank My Doodle. It's a dandy. Anybody see that? No. Okay. So the question was going back in the beginning. Well,
I mean, throughout your whole illustrious career, I mean, because you are a cultural icon.
I said I don't look at it, but that's very nice to say that. Well, but Jerry Lewis was a kid I grew up, admiring. Like most comics, Steve Martin admits that. A lot of us admitted that, and to get to work with him on the Sonny and Cher show was incredible. Also, because he guested I think at least 3 or 4 times. He became a yearly guest, and I became sort of not friends, but we got to hang out a few times. He invited me to do the telethon, and when I came out, he had the whole audience with bags over their heads and the whole crew with bags over their heads. And one of the most exciting times was when he came in Vegas. I was working at the Sahara in the lounge, and he was in the main room, and he came down to my show, and I heard he was going to come to my show, and I freaked out. Jerry Lewis is coming to see me perform, and about 3 or 4 minutes into my show, I'm the unknown comic doing my thing, and I see him and his entourage coming. They took a booth in the back, and my energy just went crazy, and I did a great show that night, and you got a standing ovation and everything, and I pulled a thing on Jerry, which he ended up, I introduced Jerry Lewis at the end of my show, saying, "I can't believe it, a guy that I grew up, saw every one of his movies, I love him, and blah blah this, and he's here tonight, Jerry Lewis, right?" And so he stands up, and I run over, and my brain was going crazy because my piano player, I had a piano player and a drummer back then, kept a camera backstage. So I said, "Jerry, any chance I can get a picture?" And he said, "Well, yeah, of course." So I said, "Yeah, Steve, get the camera backstage." And he ran to get the camera, brought it out, and I gave the camera to Jerry, and I put my arm around the piano player. And the audience went crazy, and he took the picture. And I heard he started doing that in his own act after that, but I was the first one to do that to him, and so that was pretty funny that I pulled on him, which my keyboard player, Steve Tolman, can attest to 100 years ago. So that was funny. So was that sort of the question you were asking?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got to work with so many people back in the day. Jim Carrey, his first TV show was with me. in Canada, a show called the Sex and Violence Family Hour. We did a whole bunch of sketches together before he was known. So that was all interesting. A lot of the guys that I started with, a lot of the guys that opened for me, which I mentioned, like David Spade used to open for me, Drew Carey opened for me, Ryan Stiles opened for me, Harry Anderson opened for me. All these acts that used to open for me all became huge, TV stars, and I'm still unknown. I should open for myself. No, that was great. It's really great to watch all these guys. A lot more than that used to open for me that became huge stars,
Wow. I got a couple more questions, but Philip, before we run out of time, was there anything you wanted to make sure you got in?
Yeah, sure. For me, you and
yes, I do wear underwear. Okay.
Yes, but
I know I saw what you were thinking, and I will admit magnifying underwear, but I do wear them.
Wonderful.
Okay.
But what my question was, my question was, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. My question was, how was it working with Mr. Barry on the Gong Show? Were you good friends with him, and was he great to the guests?
He was great to me. He was an aloof type of guy, as are a lot of people that make a lot of money. But he again, I didn't hang out with him socially, but if I ever went to New York, where he lived, and I believe in Trump Towers, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, he would always invite me out to lunch and do stuff with me, and he was always cool to me. And he did that movie Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, the book he wrote, and was shot in my hometown in Montreal, as a matter of fact. That's a whole other story with George Clooney too, because they hired somebody else to play the unknown comic, and I went, "What? Why are you hiring? The guy has a bag over his head." I was at home one day, and some guy calls me, says, "Hey, George Clooney just hired me to play you, the unknown comic, in this movie, and he says, can you give me an advice how to play the unknown comic?" And so I did, but I was at the same time, I didn't even know they were shooting the movie there. And so anyway, I ended up getting a hold of George Clooney and saying that I found out from my lawyer that unlike Murray, Langston, or Frank Sinatra, you can use anybody in a movie without their permission, but you can't use a registered character. So like Batman or the unknown comic. So my lawyer told me that they can't use that without you. So I called up the people and I said, I don't want the unknown comic in the movie. Absolutely true story. And so, and then next day, George Clooney calls me on the phone and he sends me a letter. I still have a letter somewhere saying, "Murray, I'm a big fan of yours, and please don't let us use the unknown comic and all this stuff." And so, but what happened is he ended up flying me to Montreal, paid me some good change, because the reason I hired the guy to play him, because they were giving him a couple $100 for a day's work, right? And that was it. And they were just trying to save money. But Clooney turned out to be a fabulous guy. Flew me to Montreal, put me in another scene without the bag, because they had already shot this unknown comic character. And had lunch with me, and he was terrific, and so that was great. And he's a great kisser. I'm kidding. No, he's a very sloppy kisser. Very sloppy.
I haven't seen the whole movie, but I forwarded to the part where the unknown comic was, and I go, wait, I don't think this is Murray because the guy's too tall.
So that's the story of that. Yeah, what happened with that. But I mean, a nice chunk of change, flew me first class, gave me first class. So I did the right thing by telling them they couldn't use the unknown comic. So
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's only one, and it's you.
It still surprised me that I was able to make a living with that bag over my head for so many years. But it's just, it's shocking me. But I always thought, I was gonna make a living one way or the other. So if I didn't create the unknown comic, I would have come up with something else pretty stupid, I'm sure.
Well, it's certainly a testament to your mentality, and definitely, I want to hear about, your drive, because you're talking about, working at Universal and just calling the producer for Rowan and Martin, and looking at starting your nightclub, the Vegas show where you were losing money running that show.
Oh yeah.
The baguettes.
Yeah, the baguettes.
I had the baguettes. I had the Brown Baggers were the band, and the baguettes were the two girls. Came out and did this whole thing. Yeah, it was quite a production because I never had a show. I only, at that time, when they asked me to do this gig and they offered me $5,000 a week, and I'd never heard of that kind of money to work in the lounge. And but I had to put a show together. And in those days, all the acts had to have a little band, either 2 or 3 pieces. So I added the girls because I really wanted a hell of a show. And because I had to put an hour show together, and I had very little experience as a stand-up. I was used to working as a comedy team, as I mentioned, with various people, Freeman being one of them. And so when I had to do this, and somehow I did the right thing because the show was great, and I got great reviews, but I had to work real hard at it. And like I said, the show, even though I was getting paid $5,000, the show was cost me about $7,000 because I had to pay all of these people. I had to pay their hotel rooms. I had to pay for food. But slowly, I didn't start making money till about a year later when I was able to drop the girls, unfortunately. But they were fun in the sack, I got to say, in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's okay. I wore baggies. I always wore baggies. Ziploc. Yeah. Did not want to be singing Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, but those are whole other stories.
Yeah,
anyway.
You actually, if you were doing your act today, like if you had just started out now, you wouldn't have been able to have a paper bag. You would have had to have a plastic bag and you would have suffocated.
Yeah, well, I actually used to say, I first tried this with a plastic bag, but I kept blacking out after the first joke. And I think the way I phrase it, and then I tried a vacuum cleaner bag, but that sucked. So, yeah, I went through every type of bag joke you could think. And that was what was good for me, because at the time I was hanging around all these comics, like Leno and so if anybody saw something that they thought would fit me, they would tell me, do this. So I really lucked out with having that character because nobody else was doing it. And that was at a time when there was a lot of camaraderie in those early days. It's just so weird to watch all these guys dying off, and they're all kids.
Now, so obviously it seems like back in that day, it was easier to kind of call somebody up and go, hey, I want to be on your show. And they're like, okay. Where I try that every day, and I've got like several thousand restraining orders against me right now for calling these people up. But
I don't think that could happen. I don't think that would have normally happened even then. I think it was just a freak that they contacted. The operator probably made the mistake that answered the phone. I still like to speak to the producer of Laugh-In, and they probably didn't think that I was an act calling up to be on the show. So I'm going to guess it was just the operator who made a mistake, and Slaughter was probably, what? But when I said I'm doing this impression of a fork, it triggered him, and he said, come on down.
Well, back when Night Court was on, and you had mentioned Harry Anderson, a couple of weeks, so there was this, before the story happened, a couple of weeks before, I had called William Shatner's office at Paramount and talked to William Shatner. And I told a friend of mine about that, who was a very new friend. I've only known him for like 3 days or whatever. And I go, yeah, I talked to William Shatner on the phone the other day. He's like, how'd you talk to William Shatner? I called his office. He answered. I talked to him, and he's like, okay, I'm not saying I don't believe you, but like nobody can just call somebody up. And I go, you name anybody right now, I'll call him on the phone and I'll talk to him. And I thought he was going to like go, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to call you a liar, and drop it. So he goes, call Harry Anderson on the site of Night Court, on the set of Night Court. And I go, okay. So I dial NBC, and I go, yeah, I need Night Court. And they go, that's stage 5. And I go, yeah, okay, thanks. So I call NBC back. I go, I need stage 5. And they go, Night Court, stage 5. And I go, is Harry Anderson still there, or is he left? And they go, he's still here. And I go, I need to talk to him. And they go, who is this? And I go, it's Bill Shatner. And they went and got Harry Anderson. They got Harry Anderson on the phone, right?
Wow,
and my friend's sitting there like this.
Yeah.
Right? And so he finally comes on the phone. He goes, hello. And I go, hi, is this Harry Anderson? He goes, yeah, who's this? And I go, well, it's not William Shatner, but please don't hang up. And he goes, I won't hang up on you. Who are you? And I go, my name's R.W. Martin. I'm an actor from Vermont. And I was just calling to say that we heard Night Court was canceled, and, it kind of bumps us out because we love this show. And he goes, hey, thanks for calling and saying so. And he goes, hey, that was a pretty crafty way of getting me on the phone. And I go, yeah, someday I'm going to be a famous actor. And he goes, keep it up. You'll be an actor in no time. And he was wicked cool, talked to me for a few minutes, and then said, look, I got to go because, we're filming or whatever, and have a nice day or whatever. But yeah, it was pretty funny. So from that day on, my friend has never doubted anything I've ever said. Like, I'd be like, hey, I went to Adam Sandler's house this weekend for a sleepover. You're like, that's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not as easy as that. I got lucky like you did. But what was
Yeah,
it like?
You know, you could, like I've known Leno for years, Jay Leno, and I have his number. It's still the same number he had 30 years ago.
Can you text that to me when we get off
No,
this?
I can't. No, I can't. But I can call him up and he'll pick up the phone. I mean, I every once in a while I talk to him, you know, and yeah, so it's pretty cool.
So what was it like working first, you know, two-part question on the Sonny and Cher show with Sonny and Cher? And like, I love Sonny's work outside of the show of Sonny and Cher. I think he was hilarious. Like he did the Love Boat and some other, you know, the Airplane 2 sequel and stuff. And I thought he was funny. And then what was it like working on the Hudson brothers Razzle Dazzle show? And I noticed that some of the same people who worked on Sonny and Cher worked on the Hudson brothers show. And were you also like part of the creative writing process for those shows? Or did somebody else say, you're going to be in a skit with a bear, and you went, okay, and that's what you did?
No, not on those shows. Those are pretty much, both of those were, you know, Chris Beard and Alan Bly shows. The Sonny and Cher show was really cool for you. Again, I went from selling shoes to be on this national TV show working with all these huge celebrities. Cher was so talented at such a young age. Her comedic timing was incredible. And I've told a story, you know, the first season of Sonny and Cher on the Halloween show, I played the werewolf. So I spent, you know, 2 hours in a makeup chair doing all the hair and the nose and gross hairy hands, you know, with fingernails and shit like that. So after they did me up, I walk in the rehearsal hall, and Cher's back is to me. She's talking to one of the dancers. So I think I'm going to go scare her, right? So I sneak up behind her, and I put this grotesque hairy hand on her shoulder like this. And as quick as a whip, she just looks at my hand and she goes, "Sonny, your mother's here." And I went, "Girl is quick." Now, Sonny, on the other hand, he was not a likable guy to the guys, to us. There was 5 regulars on the show, you know, me and Ted and Freeman, and Terry Garr, by the way, was the one girl that was the one regular on the show. We all worked for 4.5 years together. But Sonny was, I compare him to Billy Crystal, who I've worked and been around a couple of times. I've found them both to be unlikable people to people who were not at their level or above. You know what I mean? You know, most people I've met in the business are just great, but there's certain, and Sonny was one of those. If you were not at his level or above, he didn't want to socialize with you. I found the same thing with Crystal, and so 2 people that I've actually have over the years said I didn't particularly enjoy being around them because they didn't enjoy being around me because I wasn't at their level, and I tell a story in the book where the 5 of us, and in fact, Sonny would refer to the regulars, us guys who were working on the show, involved in all the sketches, as atmosphere. He would say, "Where's atmosphere?" You know, he insulted us. So none of us really liked Sonny during those years. I heard after the show, you know, he sort of became more humble after the show, because we went with the Sonny show also, because after Sonny and Cher show folded, they tried Sonny by himself. So no, I was. No, and I think Cher ended up getting mad at me because I used to talk to her a lot after the show. You know, when we were working Vegas, if she was at Caesars, we'd go hang and have a drink. But when the first people called me when Sonny died, you know, I went, your typical response, "Oh, he was great," and I said I was lying, and I hated that I was lying. So when they did a bio and they called me, and I told the truth that I didn't particularly think he was that nice of a guy to work with. And Terry Garr apparently was even worse than I did. I was sort of mild, but Terry really didn't like him. And so and then Cher stopped talking to me after that for some reason. Although she did hook up with me on Twitter a couple of years ago. But so I don't know, because you know Cher obviously was not happy with him during their initial breakup. But when he died, she made a quick turnaround. So that was all very interesting, but I was just telling the truth that the guy was not pleasant to work with, and he liked to inflict pain. Like if we were in scenes where we're all crowded, he'd knee us and stuff like that. He was sort of a mean guy, but a very talented guy in his song way. I mean, you think about "I Got You, Babe," that's just an iconic, great song, and a lot of his songs were great. So, but a lot of people, Billy Crystal's extremely talented, but And I'm not saying he wasn't, because at the time I was saying, well, maybe it's just me, he didn't like me, so big deal. But then I got to know a lot of people, and I found out that the writers at the Tonight Show didn't like it when he came down. So then I went, so he was a putz back in those days.
And what about the Hudson brothers and that crew?
The Hudson brothers were interesting. Well, they right on the verge, I could compare them to me because the Unknown Comic has sort of been right on the verge too. Never catapulted. Neither did the Hudson brothers ever catapult. But they held their own, and they all went in their own different directions. They were fun. That show was shot in Canada, and it was all Canadians. That was just a party for all of us. We just ate and partied and had fun and did this kid show and got paid. So it was a great party.
And Peter Cullen?
Peter's Canadian, very talented. He's the voice of the movie, and he did all the voice in the Sonny and Cher show. Welcome to the Sonny and Cher show.
Yeah.
Great voiceover artist, and used to live right next to Glenn Campbell. We used to go to his house and go over to Glenn Campbell's house back in those days. It was pretty interesting. Poor guy. He was a talented guy too that had a sad ending.
Wow. Yeah, I have your book, Journey into the Unknown. I just don't have it here because for a while I was homeless and I was living in my car. So still most of my stuff is in a storage unit, but I purchased it or whatever. And I read it, and you met Elvis at a Vegas hotel. And
that was so cool hanging with him all night. Yeah, that was true. Yeah.
Now, what was he like? Because there's, some people go, oh, he was this. And some people say, oh, he was that. And we had his brother Billy on a couple months ago or whatever. But what was your take?
His brother would have been there, I'm pretty sure. He was the one he had little bowls of drugs that he was passing around to everybody. Because, he was quite the pill pusher, Elvis was. So interesting, because Linda Thompson, was his girlfriend at the time, Linda Thompson. Yeah. And I connected with her a couple of years ago, and she wouldn't have remembered the night if it was just me, but she now how I met him was through I'm blanking out again. The singer you remember, you read the book. Who was the singer that Elvis was visiting?
Was it I was going to say Julie.
She was married to Harris. She was married to Jim Stafford. And Harris, the guy, hotel owner, she was a singer. She had one huge hit record. Singer, female.
Nancy Sinatra. Nancy Sinatra.
No, it's Nancy. No. Dang.
And it wasn't Juliet Prowse, Anne Margaret.
Was it Bobby Gentry?
Bobby Gentry, thank you.
Wow, good job.
Thank you. So that's what happened. Me and my buddy Freeman we went to Vegas and we were broke, and we had made friends with Bobby Gentry because she had done the Sonny and Cher show. But she was really friendly, really super nice. So anyway, we were driving out of Vegas and we saw Bobby was at the Desert Inn. So we said, hey, we got to go say hi to her. Because she was just a total sweetheart. So we went backstage and her show was just finishing. And so we went, so we told the guard we're friends of hers and we'd like to see her. And so they escorted us backstage. And so after her show, because it was just ending, so Bobby saw Mary Freeman, come on in. She welcomed us in. And she said, I got a friend visiting here. And we turn and it's Elvis Presley, was visiting Bobby. So, another friend of mine was opening for Bobby on that gig, John Biner, who was a long time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so anyway, my buddy Freeman, who was also on the Sonny and Cher show, my black buddy from he was from Mississippi. So him and Elvis were both from the same sort of area. So they talked, but then I told him that's when I had my nightclub, and I offered him, $50 if he'd come and do my club, because I said that's what I was paying. And every time I said something, and he thought that was funny. He says, "Well, that's what I was getting as a truck driver before I became famous, And I says, "Well," so anyway, I offered him a job at my club, and I kept throwing little zingers, and every time I made him laugh, my brain would go, "You're making Elvis Presley laugh." Anyway, so eventually he says, "Well, we'll go to my place and have a little party, So after the show, so we all go down. And he had his entourage with him of a couple of people. All go down the freight elevator to the back and get on these limos And Bobby said she'd meet us there later, as did John Biner. But we went with Elvis, and Elvis, he was into karate then. So he, we're all like Ken. It was very weird with his buddies, and he gave his buddies all a little gun as a present that night for some reason. And then Bobby showed up, and Linda Thompson was his girlfriend, like I said at the time. And then Bobby showed up, and the freaky thing, he did a karate thing. He wanted to show off his karate stuff, and he used me as his foil. And you go for the eyes, then you go for the throat, and then you go for the groin. And I remember saying, when you go for the groin, do I get dinner in a movie with that? And Elvis laughed, and I went, "Oh shit! I made Elvis laugh again." And so I kept making him laugh, and because I was just on top of the world then. But the interesting thing was, at the end of the night, it was like 5 a.m. We were just, partying all night. He wanted to play guitar. He sat right next to me on the floor. And I'm here, and, people are around, and Linda's over there. And he started singing, "Are you lonesome tonight?" "Are you lonesome tonight?" And I could see he was really singing it to Priscilla. But, and then after a few songs, but it was just so weird to have Elvis sitting next to you on the floor singing "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" And then he started to sing religious songs, and that was sort of my cue, because I wasn't actually I was an atheist until I found out I was God, but that's a whole other story. So anyway, he started singing a bunch of religious songs, and that was our cue. So we sort of. Plus, we were tired, and we had to get back to LA, me and Freeman, so we left. But like I said, I ended up communicating with Linda Thompson, just about a year ago, and because I said in my book, because I wrote about the Elvis thing, and she said she wouldn't remember it was just me, but she remembered exactly when I mentioned Bobby Gentry. She remembered that night completely. So wow, it's pretty cool. And John Biner is still around. He'd remember the night too, because he was there.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. Yeah, John Biner.
Well, one of the best impressionists. He was the first impressionist to do impressions in an occupation. John Wayne as a priest. Well, that comes Spirit 220. He did. He was the first guy to do impressions of celebrities in occupations.
There's a lot of people out there that people don't realize were master impressionists. Frank Gorshin and Larry Storch. I mean, there's so many of them that. What?
Oh, Larry Storch was good too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like people don't realize that there's, these people that like Larry Storch and Frank Gorshin, they remember him as the Riddler, and they remember, Larry on F Troop or whatever, but they were both, like John Biner that just did these immense, impressions or whatever.
Yeah. My favorite was, he was very, very clean, but he had a couple of raunchy ones. He would do celebrities taking a dump. It was hilarious, but that was only at a comedy club or something. He would never do that live. Or he did Donald Duck having sex. That was hysterical too. He did some really outrageous stuff, but live he was as clean as could be. Yeah.
Now, besides the fork, what other impressions do you do?
Well, in my act, I do a bunch of weird impressions. They're all really weird. When I do a show, like I said, I haven't done shows in years. The last show I actually did was about 5 years ago. I did a couple of cruise ships with a bunch of rock and roll celebrities, which were a blast. So I did the comedy. I did with the Rascals and Peter Noon and
nice.
Association. All these like 15 acts, and I was the comic relief on the show, and that was a fun gig. But that's they offered me that, and I couldn't turn that down. But I've been pretty much retired, raising my 2 girls. I have 2 daughters, which I adore, and I love being a dad, and that's what I sort of retired. But I'm coming out for a short spell. I just booked like about 6 or 8 clubs just to get up and really have some fun again.
Wow.
Maya and Mary.
Good.
Maya and Mary, my 2 daughters.
And I see the videos you post of Mary all the time, and you are just so proud of her, and I can just see how much you love her. Yeah. And, I mean, I see how much you love both your daughters, but every day it's, here's Mary and I canoeing or kayaking or whatever it is. Here's us on the boat.
Yesterday. Mary, come here.
Here's Mary downtown dancing, and there was like she was downtown somewhere doing her dance, and here's Mary on stage, and I see it all the time, and I try to put a light
on that cruise ship. She sang the song "Tomorrow," and got a standing ovation. She could barely still talk,
Right.
But she managed to belt out that song, and I think I posted it and got a standing ovation. She's not shy at all about getting on stage.
Yeah, she's got her dad in her.
Yeah, and her sister, because her sister was Britney Spears' background singer on several of her albums, and she got her name on most of the albums. On like Song Circus. That was my daughter singing with Britney on that, and a lot of her big hits. But she's doing really well now as a songwriter. Yeah, she's got songs on Lil Wayne's album. She had a song she wrote on one of Britney's albums too. So she's sort of following in my footsteps, but musically in a musical direction.
Now, how far away from you does she live?
An hour and a half.
So it's not too far.
No, it's not too far. We just spent the night there last night. We went to the boat and partied, me and Mary, then we went to Maya's. So, got our little group thing going on. Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
go ahead, Leo.
No, I was just going to say, speaking of being a dad, we definitely wanted to be respectful of your time. I know you had Mary to take care of.
She's locked in her room right now. Yeah, no, she's not locked in her room. Hold on a second, Mary. Mary, come here. Come here. I want to show you something. Come here. Okay. Let's see it. Come here, Mary. I see her. Oh, I'm back. Okay. Now it's in from the motion picture Titanic. Captain, just what makes you think this ship is sinking? No, all right, not good. All right, come here, Mary.
There she is.
Oh, what happened to the picture? The group picture?
No, you're there.
All right, get over here. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, Mary.
Say
hi, Mary.
To the camera. Say hi, everybody.
How are you?
Hi.
She's good. You want to tell them a joke?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Nah.
Knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Dishes.
Dishes.
This is who?
This way I talk.
Dishes the way I talk.
That's
Good
awesome.
one, Mary.
Love it. Love it.
You want one more?
Yes.
Okay, one more. Okay.
Knock.
Knock.
Who's there?
Ready.
Little old lady.
Little old lady who?
Yodel.
Look, you can yodel. Little old lady. All right, give me 5. All right,
That's awesome.
Okay,
That's awesome.
5 minutes, okay?
Nice meeting you, Mary.
All right, she's off.
So can you, without the bag on your head, do the voice so I can hear the voice without the bag? Because I love the unknown comic voice.
Well, didn't I do it in the beginning? I think I did.
No, but I'm saying without the bag.
I don't know that I could because
I don't know if I could. That's awesome.
It sparks. Let me see. Hey, this is the Unknown Comic. How you doing, everybody? Anyway, I'd like to start off by handing out a couple of pictures of me and then I go on like that. Hey, all right, hey, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, we do a lot of weird things, okay? Whenever I finish a bit, I'm going to make this movement, which is known as a bow, and that's when you should applaud. So don't be afraid to applaud whenever you see me make a bow movement. All right, what's the 3 worst words you can hear when you're in the middle of having mad, passionate sex? Honey, I'm home. All right, what the Mexican fireman name his 2 kids, Jose and Jose B. All right, okay. What's the difference between broccoli and boogers? Kids don't eat broccoli. Hey, all right.
Oh.
All right, what's the one food that causes a woman to lose her sex drive? Wedding cake. All right. Okay. All right, why do men always ask women for their hand in marriage? Because they're tired of using their own. Hey, but I want to tell you. Anyway, that's the way it goes. But
Murray, thank you so
you have to
much.
lead up to that stuff, though. Anyway, so that's the Unknown Comics energy. Goes crazy.
And
Amazing.
I love the little dance moves you did too. Like you were like it was amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Good
I
stuff.
come out and do that wild dance and stuff like that. Yeah, it was crazy. All right.
So I want to let everybody know, definitely check out Murray's book, Journey Through the Unknown. I have links in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. Murray, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Facebook. Go to Facebook, Murray Langston, and you can see, just about. I have 2 Facebook pages and they're both almost full. You only get 5,000, so you have to add another one. But Facebook is probably the best way to reach me. I'm also on Twitter as the Unknown Comic, so you can reach me there too.
Awesome. And we have all that in the show notes. RW.
Before I tell you where to follow me, I just want to again say thank you for making me laugh when I needed to laugh back in the 70s and 80s. I just literally, seriously, this is why I wanted to have you on.
Well, that's good. It's
You
good
are
to
an
laugh,
icon.
but you
You're
don't
an
laugh.
icon, whether you think you are or not. And you've brought so much laughter to so many people. So just know that that is true, that you have made, millions of people laugh through your career. And I appreciate
Well,
that.
hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
well, maybe.
thanks,
I mean,
RW.
at least three.
Yeah,
You know.
at least, well, three here. Okay, well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah.
But you can follow me down here, and don't forget to pick up my book, Life Inside My Head, which I believe Murray has a copy of, and he used it to start a fire one time because he was all out of kindling wood, and he said that it burnt really, really good, like nice.
Well, I
blue flames
misunderstood that you said inside my head. I just completely misunderstood it. Yeah. Anyway. No, I do. But did you really send me that book?
Yeah. I actually have an autograph that you sent me back that said, because I sent you a picture and I don't have it available right this second, but it was a picture from like way back in the day. And you're like, whoa, I was just a kid then. And you signed it to RW. Thanks for the book.
Oh, yes. Now I remember. It all comes back, just getting old as a bitch,
Yeah. But now we got to say, Philip, where do you want to be?
Philip.
But life is great. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, they can find me at darkdiscussions.com and on Facebook as Philip Perrin. So.
Okay. And for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. But I want you, definitely go follow Murray. I was going to say Furry. And follow these.
Okay.
Follow these awesome people, and I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. We got about 40 shows on the network, a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. And with that, have a most awesome day.
Thanks for being here, Murray.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
Enjoy.
Murray.